Hey everyone, this is Isaac
And this is Jackie.
from Nonessential Media, and you are listening to the Beach City CROWS podcast. This podcast is all about our favorite cartoons, mine being Steven Universe.
And mine being Haikyuu.
Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy. Okay, welcome back everyone to Beach City CROWS. My name is Isaac.
My name is Jackie.
And today we are doing another character debate, this time on Spikers.
Ooh, Isaac, who's your favorite Spiker?
I haven't thought about it.
You haven't thought about it?
I haven't THOT about it.
You haven't THOT. Who's the thoughtiest of all the Spikers?
Probably, I feel like Spikers in general in Haikyuu, I feel like they don't really get into, I don't know.
They don't get into thoughtiness? What were
Yeah.
you getting? They don't get into whether they're like thoughts or not. You know?
Don't thought around. My favorite Spiker is probably Asahi. This goes back all the way to season 1, broke through the iron wall.
That's fair. I think Asahi's he's a powerful dude. I think as a character too, like that having that arc in the very beginning of you get to see him overcome what his obstacle was right away. It makes it really easy to kind of cheer for him. I think the fact that his story was so front and center in the beginning, because really in the beginning of Haikyuu, there isn't anything besides Kageyama and Hinata trying to be part of this team. So it's kind of the first real character arc that you see.
Yours.
You know, I was thinking about this earlier, and on Karasuno, my favorite is Tanaka. I think he's underrated by the fans. Powerhouse. He's awesome.
Yeah, that was my second pick.
Strong dude. Outside of Karasuno, probably Iwaizumi.
I forgot about Iwaizumi.
How dare... See, that's the thing. People forget about Iwaizumi. They do. The only thing that Iwaizumi ever gets credit for in the fandom is for the shipping aspect, which drives me crazy, because Iwaizumi has so much to offer as a character,
really
as a Spiker. And fans see him as... A lot of fans see him as this, like, super violent, over-the-top dude, but he's not. He's super supportive. He's someone that you want on your side, but he's great. He broke through the Iron Wall too. People forget that. He broke through, in season 2, we watch Aoba Josai play Date Tech, and they beat Date Tech because of Iwaizumi.
Iwaizumi is also, I think, one of the more powerful, if not the most powerful, because you have Ushijima, and I think we touched on this one of our previous episodes. Ushijima is powerful in the sense that he's like, he can nail that spike, and it's hard to stop it. But Esme has overall strength that I feel like Ushijima has, but he just puts it in one thing. Otherwise, me puts it in multiple aspects.
Yeah, and I think Ushijima has the advantage of being left-handed. Not to say that Ushijima isn't an ace for a reason. He definitely is, but in his own right, he belongs. He deserves to be at the top of any list. And Ushijima's an interesting character too. I don't think we give Ushijima's character enough credit for like the weird journey that we're forced to go on with him in season 3, where we learn about his backstory with his dad. His dad married into this family. His dad is the one who made him love volleyball. And he didn't want to become his dad. I think that's one part of Ushijima's character that I really love, is he wanted to be the person that his dad looked up to. He wanted to be his dad's hero, which is such an interesting take on that, otherwise overused subject in shonen sports, where the player whose dad was also a player, they want to be exactly like him. No, he wants to be someone that his dad looks up to, and I think it's awesome. It's really touching, and the fact that his dad's not even really in his life anymore is kind of crappy, but we know that at some point, Ushijima certainly had the chance to meet up with his dad again, and I'm sure his dad saw him on TV and everything and got to cheer for him, but I think that going through that whole journey with Ushijima it's just bizarre. It's bizarre how you go through that, because that's one thing Haikyuu does really well, is they take you through the journey of the character on the opposing team, and they make you care for them so fast. Like, there is no build up for it, except for like in the case of, I think Aoba Josai was, since they started out as such a villain, and we kept having to run into them over and over again. But with Shiratorizawa, and specifically Ushijima, like, I can't say that I dislike Ushijima at all, because they did such a great job with this character.
Yeah, Ushijima is kind of weird, especially with that whole team in general, because like Ushijima is kind of the big bad of that season, but really it's the whole team. You have characters like Goshiki, not really as much or as focused on as Ushijima.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, Shiro Torizawa was always talked about as the big bad from the beginning. I mean, I think people forget that. But what part of Shiro Torizawa was brought up consistently? It was Ushijima. We're talking like the very beginning of the show. They were
Yeah.
hyping up Ushijima specifically. And who did Oikawa want to beat? He didn't want to beat Shiro Torizawa. He wanted to beat Ushijima. He saw Ushijima as the wall that was in his way.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side of that,
Agree.
Ushijima thought Oikawa was the greatest setter that ever lived. So the dynamics there are very interesting.
That's so crazy to me that he didn't see the teams as one to beat, but he saw one singular person.
Yeah, he does that with Karasuno too. I mean, he kind of gets. I mean, he respects, like, Oikawa respects Shiro Torizawa and respects Karasuno, but his hangup was Kageyama. You know, it wasn't Karasuno as a whole. So it's definitely interesting how his character works.
Kind of off topic, but not really because it's still Haikyuu. What would you say is the most, besides Waizumi, underrated spiker?
Obviously, someone that I can't think of.
Yeah, okay, that was a dumb question on my part because they're really not underrated. Like, think of spikers. I feel like we see spikers the most because they're front line usually.
Yeah, spikers and setters are really kind of a big focal point in Haikyuu. I think more than middle blockers, which is kind of interesting considering Haikyuu, considering Hinata's a middle blocker. But I mean, when you think about it, yeah, I think Yamamoto from Nekoma is pretty underrated. I mean, he's a second year and he's the ace. Like, that's pretty impressive. And he's got the guts, and he's got, he's kind of like a Tanaka light in a lot of ways. I think he's kind of underrated a little bit. I think people with Nekoma, they get caught up in Kuro and Kenma and Lev, and they kind of forget about Yamamoto. But
Yaku.
Yamamoto's in Yaku. People love Yaku too. Yamamoto's kind of a badass. I think he deserves a lot more credit. And obviously, we're talking. This is anime only discussion. We're only talking about, up to the end of season 3, because you haven't seen season 4 yet. Because then we could talk about the buttholes that we see at nationals. So there's more, obviously. But it's interesting, and I've said this before. Like, I don't think Furudate's writing got bad in any stretch of the imagination, but the way that the Miyagi teams were written, and it follows the typical shonen line of, the next team stronger than the one before, which is how it is when you are in a tournament in real life too. The way the connection you make with those characters in Miyagi, I think, is just unmatched anywhere else. In nothing against, I'm not saying the characters outside of Miyagi aren't as good, but not counting the Tokyo teams that we know from the beginning too. But the teams you meet at nationals, you don't spend as much time with them, so they kind of fly under the radar a little bit anyways, I think.
Yeah. What about Bokuto? What are your thoughts on Bokuto?
Bokuto.
Bokuho. I feel like it's weird because you have spikers, obviously, and they're all kind of same way. Naka's amazing, Ushijima's amazing, Bokuto's amazing, Aichi is amazing. I don't know if you can consider him a spiker.
Sure he is. He's a wing spiker. And
Noshida. So they're all, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I haven't studied or played enough volleyball. Because to me, spiking just kind of looks like hitting the ball, but they're not. There's more skill to it. And I feel like Bokuto is really hits that skill level, I guess you could say. Like he's really good at aiming the ball.
Yeah, I like how you said to you, and which makes sense because you're not a volleyball player. You said that spiking looks like you're just hitting the ball. It reminds me of people that say baseball is not that hard; they just hit the ball. When in truth, hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do in sports. That's just
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is
And so I think when you see someone that can do it naturally, super well, you take for granted how hard it really is. And there's not a lot of spikers that are lacking in Haikyuu because they have been playing volleyball they're still not professional. They're all kind of on the same tier, except for a couple that are obviously way better. So someone like a Noshida isn't going to be anywhere near as good as Ushijima, but he's not terrible. He's not terrible.
Yeah.
But Bokuto's big problem is he definitely, I think people forget how good he is sometimes, and he's very strong. He's a strong boy. But if he can't, his biggest issue is his mental fortitude just isn't there.
Yeah. He just kind of falls apart after a while. Whereas someone like Tanaka could just, or even Hinata could keep going the whole game.
Yeah, and I've never seen. I mean, it's rare, but it's real. You know, you don't usually see it in sports shonen that much. A character that is so swayed by their emotions. Bokuto's big thing is he just has to learn how to harness that, and then he obviously is good enough to go pro. He did, because there's times where he can't aim. You know, there's I think it was the Tokyo battles against Nekoma. He couldn't hit a cross shot, I think is what it was. Maybe it was a straight. I don't remember. Totally like lost the ability to do it. So he can, and he admits it. He knows, he's like, crap, I can't do what I want to do. You know. Compared to, there's a lot of other, I mean, someone like Tanaka will get goaded into doing something that he probably wouldn't want to do, but he'll just blow through that. And then you have someone like an Oizumi or an Ushijima who they're not going to fall for that crap. Like they're always, their mental fortitude and their technical skill is high enough that that's just not going to be an issue.
Yeah. It is interesting to me though, because of Bokuto's emotions, I guess you could say, he starts out super strong, just like hammers down on the teams, but then after a while it just fades, which compared to all the others, they just like keep going streamline almost. It's weird because I feel like there's no other spikers in Haikyuu that are like that. They give it their all and then just burn out, I guess you could say.
Yeah, Bokuto's interesting because he'll burn out if it's the mental thing, you know, it's the I realize I can't do this, or he gets blocked to one too many times. From like a stamina standpoint, like he can go all day, like that's not an issue. He's physically capable of that. But yeah, he runs into blocks, mental barriers and roadblocks that prevent him from, I think, reaching his full potential sometimes. But a lot of that's maturity too. I mean, when you're a teenager, like it's hard sometimes to balance all that out. I think we forget a lot of times that these characters in Haikyuu are like 16, 17, 18 years old. Like they're kids. They're children, really. I mean, to us anyways, to adults, you know, they're in a completely different headspace than you or I would be.
The ace spiker for Itachiyama Academy. It looks like he's already been in the anime. Yeah, Sakusa.
Yeah, he's in the anime now. He's a germaphobe. I'll send you my favorite meme from him.
I forget who he looks like, but I know I instantly thought of a character, but I can't think of it anymore. It was from My Hero Academia. I'm not sure. So he's Corona victim number 1.
He is a germaphobe, hardcore germaphobe. He's always wearing the mask. He doesn't like being by people.
He's literally number 2 on the trending page. So
it's because it's because he just made his anime debut.
Oh, that makes sense. Hoshi Umi?
So he is around the same height as Hinata, but better than Hinata.
I remember seeing a clip on Twitter, and he just like is crazy.
He is like annoying.
That's why he was on the bottom of the list of wing spikers.
No, fans love him. Oh man, fans love him.
Only they don't like Osamu Miya, one of the twins.
No, they do. They do. Those thirsty girls out there do. Yep.
Dang, his stats?
Miya?
Oh my, yeah.
Yeah, he could have gone pro, dude. Like that's, yeah, he not should have. I'm not gonna say that. He could have gone pro. He's phenomenal.
Power is 4 out of 5, jumping 4 out of 5, stamina 4 out of 5, game sense 4 out of 5, technique 4 out of 5, speed 4 out of 5. Solid 4s. Okay, but then you have the Seagull guy. His jumping's 5, stamina 5, and technique is 5. His power is lacking.
Well, he's small. He's a small boy.
Insane.
Yeah, you haven't met a lot of these. His power's not lacking. A 3's not bad.
Tanaka's is surprisingly low in some areas. Out of 5 game sense for Tanaka. I can kind of see it because Suki literally uses him.
Yeah, he doesn't have any game sense at all. He definitely doesn't.
Now that I'm looking more at this and thinking of like the anime, I can see it. Technique 2 out of 5. I don't think he does any crazy moves, does he? He just kind of hits.
Yeah, he just hits it really hard where he kind of sometimes where he wants to hit it, you know. He can't do like put crazy spins on it or anything like that, you know.
What were we saying before we got off on this long?
I don't know. I don't remember. I don't even know what to say about spikers. Like I don't have any strong opinion on anybody.
Yeah, they're all just kind of there.
I mean, you know, I kind of like all of them. I don't really dislike any of them.
Pineapple Head is a spiker.
Yeah, fuck that guy. I don't like him.
Bobby.
Kenji's a spiker? I forget.
Oh my god, how did I forget Mad Dog?
How did we forget? Fuck Mad Dog, man. We're bad with this. Obviously, Tiny Giant was one.
Yeah.
Goshki.
7, 6, 7.
6, 7, yeah.
7 is a spiker.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Also known as 2 meters.
Hey, we forgot one very important wing spiker in this conversation. Michimiya!
Oh my god. I just kind of like forget that there's a female team, not gonna lie.
I wouldn't mind a female version of Haikyuu.
Yeah.
Get to see especially like now that been introduced to, if you're an anime only, you've just recently been introduced to Tanaka's girl, who is one of the best female players out there, and it would be really cool to follow her team to nationals, I think, something like that. Obviously, like Karasuno, they lost the first game they were in. That's not interesting, but that'd be cool to see a female version of Haikyuu out there. But on the plus side, it's promoting men's volleyball, so.
Thoughts on...
I'm so glad you came.
I was just gonna talk about Daichi.
I fucking love Daichi. I cannot stress enough how much I fucking love Daichi. Daichi is a fucking stud. First of all, let's get that out of the way. An absolute fucking unit of a man, both in character and in physique. Phenomenal. 10 out of 10. Would recommend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're recommending, but
like I said, absolute fucking unit, absolute man, great fucking captain. What'd you just say?
Alpha.
Oh, I thought you said great butt, and I was like, okay, that's a little.
Where did you get that from, Alpha?
Dude, because you cut out and it's like distorted when you cut out, so I got what? Solid, just solid dude, and great character. I think Daichi's journey is fascinating to me because he comes into Karasuno, he is just like Hinata, like he saw Karasuno play at Nationals and he wants to go to Nationals with Karasuno. He fucking loves Karasuno so much. Like as someone who's very loyal to the places that I grew up and to the teams that I've been loyal to for 20 plus years, through the good and bad, like you just fucking fight and believe, and that's your second family, and I get it. So I really respect that about him, and he didn't give up, and he always believed every step of the way that he and his friends were going to take Karasuno to Nationals, and they freaking did it. And I think that it takes someone like Daichi to make that possible.
Is the freaking captain that got them to Nationals.
Yeah, Daichi's probably my favorite captain. Like, honestly, and there's a lot of great captains in Haikyuu. Daichi is phenomenal. He's someone that I would follow into hell and back easily would.
Imagine being in Daichi's shoes during that whole season 3 game of Shiratorizawa. Imagine having to keep your team up in spirits and still play good. All of this like crazy Ujima spikes, Tendos, S-Monster, whatever the heck he does. Like, imagine having to keep sane and keep your team together.
And the day before that, he got knocked out and lost a tooth.
Exactly.
Like, how much pain is this guy in? How bad does his mouth hurt every time he goes to pump his team up? Like, how much is he just sitting there thinking, like, I would rather be at home in bed, hyped up on painkillers right now. But no, he goes out there. He tells Karasuno to get hyped. He tells Karasuno to fight. He keeps them there. And he plays all the way through that game. Like, it's as someone who's been injured and had to get up and go to a game the next day, it's not easy. It's hard. And so, I mean, and to be able to lead through that, like, what a badass. Daichi's just a freaking badass, guys.
There's a reason you eat creams every time.
It's because he's 10 out of 10. Like, it's that simple.
Would recommend.
10 out of 10 would recommend.
We already talked about Tanaka, right?
Tanaka. We ever talked about Tanaka? I love Tanaka, guys. I think Tanaka, a lot of the people that don't like Tanaka, I don't understand where they're coming from. I need someone to explain that to me. He's a hype monster, which is awesome. He's the best bro. Like, is there anyone on Karasuno that you want to have your back? Tanaka. This dude is going to be there for every verbal smackdown or physical smackdown. He's got your back. And he's supportive as hell too. And he's just powerful. He's a powerful guy, and both physically and mentally and emotionally. And you know what? Good for him for winning the Kyoko Bowl.
Karasuno's just got some good, I think, some of the best players when it comes to friendships and team dynamics.
Actually, someone I was talking to about this not that long ago was my dad. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, my dad watches anime. And we were talking about one of the things that's really great about Karasuno is there's no bad guys on Karasuno. There's just like there's no one on Karasuno that you just feel like what a sleazy piece of shit. Like there's no one. Even someone like Tsukishima, as salty as he is, he's not a bad dude. He's just a fucking obnoxious 15-year-old teenager. Like that's just how they are. Karasuno has a bunch of great guys, and when they click, it's like a family. It's a family unit, and they all look after each other. There's no backstabbing. There's no like, yeah, they're gonna quarrel a little bit because that's normal, but it's just a great group of characters, and I think it's good because you got a lot of young people that are reading Haikyuu and watching Haikyuu, and the good guys are truly good guys, and I think that's great. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. Not to bring this to Steven Universe, but like Steven is just good because he's good. Haikyuu characters are good because they actually do things and they make sense. They're real.
Yeah, they're well. The situations that they're put in is written well enough. I think. Yeah, I think you're right on that. It's kind of it feels kind of forced in some other shows that won't be named.
Exactly.
But it feels very natural. The way the characters act, it feels very natural in Haikyuu, and it makes it easy to cheer for them when they are doing those good deeds.
And to bring it back to Daichi again, when he got that injury, I mean, I know I would have been in that place where I'm like, I'm not playing again. Like, I'm done for the season. I know a bunch of people would have too. They're put in so many situations where it's just easier to give up, but they never do.
It's so inspiring.
Yeah. I don't know anyone in fiction that's not forced that can do that. That feels so real.
Yeah, exactly.
What about Mad Dog?
Yahaba needs to kick him in the groin.
Just need to beat up each other. Like,
yeah, they just need to fuck it out. Yeah, I don't. Mad Dog. Mad Dog is someone he needs help. I mean that sincerely. Like, I think if you're a troubled youth, you end up like Mad Dog, and I think, hopefully volleyball's the place for him, and he can stay with Aoba Josai and under Yahaba's captainship, because obviously Oikawa leaves after this season. Hopefully he changes into a good man. He's obviously a very powerful person, physically. I don't like him as a volleyball player. He doesn't have any idea of what team is, and I get that part of his arc is understanding what it means to be part of a team. But I don't know if he truly understood that, even at the end there. I think he still had a long ways to go in his journey.
Yeah, I think it's good to show that you're not just gonna do a complete 180, completely understand what's going on and how to fix it. Sometimes you need that time for more, I guess, experiences to understand how to become a better person.
Absolutely. I think that it's very yeah, definitely. It's very real. It's real that he doesn't change immediately, because that's what fiction does, is it changes characters immediately, but that's not real. Anyone that's had Lapis, diamonds, anyone that's ever gone through, that's had that moment of self-realization, you don't change overnight. It's a struggle, and it's hard sometimes to continue to change. Mad Dog started his journey of change during that game, and just hopefully he continued it. That's the big thing.
Oh, Daisho.
Daisho. Let me tell you about Daisho. I think I might have said this in a podcast. I'm not sure. I know I've said it to you for sure. If you're an anime only, you do not understand Daisho. I'm just gonna say that. Like, you don't get him. The anime did a horrible job with that game.
I was kind of pissed because I remember you telling me about him.
Yeah, he is very. So this was for Daisho. This was my journey with Daisho. When you're first introduced to him and Kuro are talking shit to each other. I love that. I love that there's this rivalry, and you just like, man, these guys are going to come to blows. Like, they hate each other. I can't wait to see this on the court, because if you have a rivalry and you get to play out those passionate feelings in a sport, it's always exciting. In the manga, Furudate did such a great job, and I think they did a pretty good job of this in the stage play too. Your first impression of Daisho was, what a snake.
Literally.
No pun intended. Like, what a piece of shit. Like, I hated Daisho at first. I could not stand this guy. He goaded Yamamoto in until he six-packed Yamamoto. Like, Yamamoto played that entire game with a bruise on his face. He's lucky he didn't, have to leave the game. He could have been seriously hurt.
Not to mention in the manga how they're like playing with the refs.
Yeah, they didn't do a very good job of illustrating that, I don't think, in the anime. But yeah, they play with the refs, and they do such a good job of convincing the refs that they're the good guys. And it's just, oh man, you're just sitting there like, man, these guys are a bunch of freaking cheaters. Like, I can't stand these guys. I hope Nekoma wins. Like, you're already kind of cheering for Nekoma because you know them. But then you get introduced to these assholes, and who is their leader? It's Daisho. And he just looks like a snake, and you just want to fucking strangle him. But then afterwards, he loses, and he's sitting out on a bench in the hallway there, and his ex-girlfriend comes up and says, "I always thought you were really boring, but now I've seen you play volleyball. I don't think you're that boring anymore. Do you want to teach me to play volleyball sometime?" And so he's kind of like, "Oh, okay, cool. Like, I'm getting back with my girlfriend." And you're like, "All right, I don't know if he deserves it." Like, that's what you're thinking. You're like, "No, he's a piece of shit. Like, you shouldn't be with him. Like, I don't know why y'all broke up, but it wasn't because he was boring. He's a piece of shit." And then it fast forward a little bit, and they're kind of the commentators. They become the commentators at nationals, and Daisho is teaching her about volleyball as they watch the game. So it's kind of like it's how Futadate is teaching the audience about volleyball. We've seen that in the past with Takeda learning about volleyball or Yachi learning about volleyball. Well, now Daisho's girlfriend's learning about volleyball. Throughout those interactions, and the more and more I read, I was like, wow, Daisho's he's a good guy. Like, he's a good boyfriend. He's a good man. Who he is on the volleyball court is not who he is as a human being. And because of that, as I go back and reread or watch or whatever those matches again and see him as a volleyball player, I'm taking into consideration that this is not who he is.
Yeah.
So I think that journey, to be able to have me go from I can't stand this guy to the small little tiny interactions that he has with his girlfriend, making me have a complete 180 on who he is, I think it's great. And so he's actually a character that I think is kind of underrated. And he stopped saying that.
True.
He is, though. I mean, like, I don't know what to say. Like, fans, he's a character that I think the fans overlook because he is Nekoma, because he is one of Kuro's rivals, and not a friendly rival the way like Daichi or Bokuto is. It's clearly like a vicious rivalry.
Yeah.
And the fans, or they kind of take sides, or they just see who he was on the volleyball court and don't take into consideration that, a lot of times who you are out on the field isn't who you are as a person. I think Asahi's a great example of that. Asahi is an absolute freaking monster on the court when he's in the zone. You catch him outside the court and he's a softie. He's a little teddy bear. And Daisho's the same way,
I'm so glad you mentioned the difference between player's mind on the court and off the court, because obviously Daisho is completely different. But then you have people like Hinata, who is kind of the same, like fired up all the time. And Daichi obviously is almost exactly the same. And you have Asahi is completely different. So it's just weird that there's different dynamics going on within each team. And I think that's another reason why people overlook him, is because he's so different off the court, because we usually see players on the court.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's just different from what people see on the court. Maybe that's why they overlook him.
That could be, yeah.
It's like Asahi's kind of overlooked in a way, other than that first part in season 1. That's also because it's just his personality.
I think Asahi's strength after his quote-unquote arc is done is, number one, he just becomes a pillar for the team, the same as Daichi or Sugawara does. It's just a different kind of pillar. I think people understate the way that he is a mentor in a way. Yeah, he's not outdoor. He's not out there the same as Sugawara, like literally mentoring people, like getting in their business and stuff. And he's not the leader that Daichi is, but the way that he carries himself on the court and the way that he does have his team's back, and he is there a lot of times giving one of the first people to give praise or to cheer someone up or something. I think that sometimes we kind of miss that. And then, of course, we've said it a million times, the friendship of the third years is so freaking good, and you can't have one without the other. Like, they're a complete package, and I love the interactions that he has with Sugawara and Daichi. Like, that's who Asahi is. When he's with those two guys off the court, that's the real Asahi. And it's kind of a beautiful thing, really, to see that friendship. It's such a great... It's just, even now, where we're at in the manga, here we are, chapter 390 or whatever the hell it is. The first three of the first people that you're introduced to as adults is Asahi, Sugawara, and Daichi, and they're watching a game together, drinking beer, and it's great to see that there's this friendship that built through volleyball. We saw when they first met, we saw when they made it to nationals together, and we're seeing now that that friendship is carrying on, and I think that's great. And a part of that is Asahi and who he is. I think he's his own type of glue, just the way Daichi and Sugawara are.
Okay, that was what we had for the spikers.
My name's Jackie, and my favorite spiker is a Waizumi.
My name is Isaac, and my favorite spiker is probably Asahi.
Bye, guys.
Okay, bye, guys.
Hey guys, it's Jackie.
And Isaac.
From Non-Essential Media.
We just want to thank you guys so much for listening, and if you'd like, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel or our Patreon.
And we want to hear from you guys. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you're watching along with us and what your thoughts are.
You can find us on Twitter at NonEssentialM.
We're on Facebook as Non-Essential Media.
We're also on Instagram at NonEssential Media.
Check out our website, nonessentialmedia.com.
So check us out.
Thanks again for listening. We truly appreciate every single one of you.
See you guys next Saturday for a new episode of Beach City Crows. Bye. Skibbly babbly bab.